Mike, I will throw a question at Mike Drapac. I mean Mike Ashenden, and he can. Because I know he wants to say something. But do you think the way we're currently dealing with the anti-doping regime is sustainable in the long run? I suppose
I guess an observation that I'd make is sitting up there listening to the statement you read out from the writer made me feel very uncomfortable to know that I'm the person or one of the people that they're talking about making these decisions and not knowing how I was thinking, or was a result manipulated, could they trust the outcome. One of the most cogent thing that's come through to me in the past couple of weeks reading these reports and discussing it with people is humanising what I do. And I'll be honest with you that sitting down looking at a page of results is different in the context of I'm looking to see if this writer doped, to if I sit down and look at that piece of paper and think this is a human being with a wife and 2 kids, the decision that I make about this is going to have long-term ramifications, and the point's been made to me and I accept that it's not just 2 years, it's potentially a lifelong consequence. It does change how I think and how conscious I am of the implications of decisions that I make. Now, I'd first like to reassure that I've got no sense that the concerns expressed by the writer about results being manipulated or changed. I don't believe that would be the case. There are safeguards in place. Having said that, I would make another point. I sense at the moment we're at a position where things are going to have to change. And the reason I say that is back in the 1970s when you're testing for stimulants, it could be impersonal. It could be as simple as a urine analysis. The product is synthetic, it's clearly there or it's not there. And if it's there, then they've broken a rule. There were safeguards in place to prevent a laboratory covering up a result, because at the moment with urine tests, the result is sent to the Federation and to the WADA who can oversee it. Fast forward that today with the biological passport, it's not the same situation. There's not a single result that his decision hinges upon. It's a palette of results. And it's not even immediately obvious just by looking at the numbers. There's other things that we take into consideration. Now, we're still using the old model of how we safeguard an agency policing itself by we think, well, the results are available to WADA, they can interrogate them as well. In practice, it's going to be difficult. And I think the system we've got at the moment where the UCI is responsible for policing and promoting itself is going to be difficult to sustain into the future, where you've got a result that isn't going to be readily amenable to a third party looking over their shoulder to make sure that it's policing and promoting itself appropriately. And the concerns expressed by the writer in the statement that they're not sure how the system operates, to me just underlines the need that from a procedural perspective and also from a human perspective, I think we need to change what we're doing today.
I thought the statement might make you a little uncomfortable, but I know you well enough to know that you take it well. But what I think that paper speaks to in a lot of ways is the lack of communication and this feeling that the writers just feel like chattels in the process. And this is, I think, one of the reasons why we picked up in the report this idea of trying to somehow infuse the writers into the whole process in one way or another. You know, we haven't got the answer to that either, and it seems to be what's coming through in that paper as well.
I think that the position we're in at the moment is it's becoming very difficult when we're looking at profiles today to be sufficiently sure to impose a sanction on profiles that we probably consider as suspicious. And in order to address that situation, I personally believe that we need to begin using the passport in a supplementary way. And the most useful application I can conceive of would be to use the passport in a no-start scenario. Now, in order to bring that into place, it's not going to be a WADA-guided situation. WADA do doping or not doping. It's up to the sport to bring in a no-start rule, and they're perfectly allowed to do that. However, that's going to require the cooperation and the faith of the riders to do that. You may recall the old hematocrit rule needed the riders to consent to be bound by that rule. I think that we could do that and address the concerns of the riders that came out in the report by including the riders in a discussion. Okay, if we were to use it as a no-start rule, what sort of tolerances would you like? What sort of penalties would you like? And who would you like sitting on these panels making these decisions? And I would fully support the riders being intimately involved in that process. And I hope that that would give them some sense not only of ownership of this initiative, but also faith that it was going to be conducted in a way that they felt comfortable with, that they felt would help guide their sport into a future that they were supportive of.
Yeah. Something occurred to me last night. I'll come back to the questions, but could the things that you look for, if I can put it in those terms, in the passport process, in the software in this, be structured in such a way that we're not just looking for signs of doping, but also signs of health problems, so that it could actually be used as a health monitoring no-start rule? It came out of the discussion we were having last night about the cancer and the testing pre-99.
I don't really feel comfortable commenting on that because that's a medical issue. I'm not a medical doctor.
Yep.
I think there would be an avenue for that, but to me that's more from a team owner, rider sort of association, that would be up to the team owners to bring in with their medical staff,
Yep.
rather than a third party sort of trying to be
Policing people's health.
yeah, doctors at a distance.
Yeah, okay. Any questions out there? Nick? Nick, the cycling tragic from Geelong, podiatrist.
G'day guys, sorry I am that guy. Not enough muffins to stuff my face.
Always good questions, Nick. Spit them out.
I think what was apparent from yesterday, and again coming through with the statement today, was that the need for a collaborative representative body for the riders. I think with what Michael touched on before about the UCI's issues with policing and promoting itself at the same time, it would also seem that the statements called for a riders' body that could run the testing for themselves, but at the same time look after their well-being, could face that same sort of conflict. But there was also mentioned that there's not unity within the riders. There's a call for a body, but they said that not everyone would agree. What's creating that dividing line? Is there an old school element within the peloton that is holding this back? Because it seems to be that it's going to be to the detriment of everyone if they can't get together collaboratively and have a single voice.
I mean, I can try to answer that. I'm not entirely sure what the role of a group of cyclists would be, or what purpose it would serve. Obviously, it's always good if you have a democracy of people that each group is represented. But I don't know how you pick a group of cyclists that would have all that much to add, nor would you know if you could trust them to be giving you the right information when they're, in fact, by the nature of the way the anti-doping agency works and the riders being the ones that are being policed, is an adversarial one to begin with. So not to overstate what's actually going on, because I don't think it's quite this extreme, but that would be like saying that the criminals in prison should be able to have some say in what the police are doing, and I don't really know what value that would have. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding exactly where